Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So today I'm going to explain to you as best as I can the most knowledge I have on lipo batteries, lithium ion batteries, nickel methyl hydrate batteries, and Ni Cads. So everything that I personally know, which I feel is factual. I know what I know, okay? So, and you can either believe me or not. It's totally up to you, okay? Now, this video is also because I was requested to do a video about this because some people are still a little confused about single cell batteries. Can you balance these? Should you buy a high quality balance charger to charge these batteries? Well, there's a yes and no to that, okay? You cannot balance a single cell battery. There's no such thing as balancing a 1S LiPo battery. Can't be done, okay? 2 cells and more is balancing. You need a balance charger for that, and a good one, because even the little chargers that come with your your helicopters that have 2-cell batteries, or your other RCs with 2-cell batteries, those chargers, they're not the best. They do work really well, don't get me wrong, and they will work well for quite a while, okay? But unless you're prepared to do a little bit of extra work, okay, then you might as well go out and buy a high-end charger and just use that charger. And there's another procedure yet again that you'll be following in order to keep maximum life cycles and longest longevity, same thing I guess, out of your lithium ion and lipo batteries. Okay, NIM packs the same too. NIM packs, actually, those chargers, they suck. They work well, don't get me wrong, they will work well in a pinch. At least it's something, right? But if you want to keep the cells in good proper shape on your Ni Cads and NIM packs, then you might want to consider a good high-end charger as well. Now, most of these chargers, and one of the ones that I do have is called the iMax B6, and it's a really great charger. I got it for under 40 bucks at Banggood, and it's about 3 weeks for delivery type of deal, because it is coming from China after all, but the shipping was free and no tax or duty, so awesome. And I've had it for quite a while, and it's a great little charger. It does quite a bit. It'll put batteries into storage mode. It can recondition batteries, in a pinch. I mean, you can usually save a battery, okay? Whereas with a basic wall charger that you get with your toy, it's just to charge it, and that's all it does. And the balancing process is not the world's best, but it does work on those chargers. But don't throw those chargers out, because I'll tell you, I actually needed one of those once. I had a 3-cell battery that kind of flatlined on me a bit, and I thought, ooh, and my charger, good charger, couldn't do a damn thing with it. So it was a good thing I kept around that 3-cell charger that was from a little RTR box, because it was able to pop the punch in to that battery to zip it back to life to start it charging again, and then I could move it back over to the big charger, and I was able to recover the battery. Now, there are other methods that can be used too. If you have a high-end charger and you get a battery that seems to have puked, and that's that you can use the NIM charging cycle temporarily for a few minutes anyways on a LiPo battery to start things going again. That can also work. Not always. Sometimes you'll still need that old charger in order to do it. But most of the time, it does work. So don't throw those old ready-to-run chargers out right away, okay? You're going to probably need them one day, and you'll kick yourself in the butt if you do get rid of it, trust me. Anyways, so 1-cell batteries, you can't balance these, okay? The purpose for having a high-end charger for one of these is to do what is a pain in the neck to do otherwise, and sometimes can't even be done, which I just found out that my wonderful, awesome little quad, my V212, which is the WL Toys L949 upgraded V212, if you want to go to the long name of it all. Okay, I just call it a V212 from now on. Too long of a title. Anyways, that thing I found out the LiPo cutoff was at 4 volts. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? It's a 500 milliamp battery, right? And it's like, okay. Battery charges up. Now, when that battery charges, funny enough, it charges to 4.28 volts. The quad still runs fine. It hasn't barked at me. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. Thing is the cutoff is at 4 volts. That sucks. So anyways, and so this is kind of like similar to the battery that's in it. It's actually a 500. This is a 600, which is actually an upgraded battery for that quad. Also works in the V929 and a few others. Anywho, so I'm recharging it right now because I finally tested it, and I found that out by using this. It's a LiPo tester and alarm, and it's got twin horns on it. Man, this sucker can get loud when it goes off. Anyhow, so I thought, well, I've never had a quad before that cut off at 4 volts. Most of them are like 3.4, 3.6, 3.8. Even most of my RCs are like 3.6 volts, right? So I'm like, okay, at least I'm getting a lot of punch for my money, you know, for the battery. But this one's cutting off at 4 volts. But I am still getting 10 minutes of runtime, which is within spec. It's in factory spec, so hey, how can I bark? But I found that rather odd because now that's going to cause a problem. That's going to cause a memory build. And I ran the battery until it totally capped, okay? And this is one thing I've been telling customers for a while when they've come into me with helicopters that, you know, non-removable batteries that are soldered on, right? Okay? The only way to recover those batteries, those LiPos when they build a memory, is to run the device until the blades stop on their own, let it cool for about 10 minutes, charge it up, run it again until the blades stop, okay? Don't fly it, run it, okay? Low speed. Let it slowly drain itself down. Do that about 3 times, and that usually fixes the problem. If it doesn't, then the battery is just plain worn out by then, okay? So it's not 100% guaranteed. All right, that's why I say 99% of the time works just peachy cream. So with this sort of a battery, though, it's a removable battery. Now, it may be a different shape that you may have, but it's still a 1-cell battery. They come with their little chargers. Those chargers work fine because you can't balance a 1-cell battery anyhow. So run your item until the blades totally stop, okay? Or whatever the device happens to be. Even if it's a land vehicle that runs off a 1S battery, run it until it stops. Now with a vehicle, because there's pressure, torque, and all that other stuff, you're going to have to lift the car up in your hand and then finish the running cycle. And that could take upwards to 10 minutes. It's ridiculous how long these things can run when there's no load on them, right? So... But anyways, if you do that, if you're noticing really low run times, then that's one way to do it. The other way is you do get a high-end balanced charger, which will work from 1S to 6S. It's pretty much about what you need, okay? Depending, unless you're running much bigger batteries than 6S, well then you need a bigger charger, obviously. But generally, a lot of us are using a 1 to 6S charger because most of our vehicles that we run aren't going past 6S. So, but at 1S, you can drain this thing on that high-end charger, okay? Drain it down to 3 volts. Then let it sit for 10 minutes before you recharge. Very important, and I'm going to tell you why this is all important, okay? After you let it sit, you recharge the battery, okay? If you got a LiPo tester, it helps, but your charger will tell you what kind of voltage is in and how many milliamps went back in. Okay, this charger is telling me I got 4.23 volts in my battery right now, so I'm ready to go slap that in the quad and go fly for 10 minutes, or am I? Now, more than likely, yes. Okay, it is a LiPo. They hold a battery for a long, long time before they're kind of useless. Nickel methyl hydrate and Nimpax, however, they lose power right after coming off the charger. In fact, the same night I've seen a voltage drop, and as the voltage drops, so does your milliamps, okay? It takes a lot longer for a LiPo to start dropping off, or even a lithium-ion battery to start dropping off. Long time, okay? So you can usually charge them up a week later, go play with it, and you're usually good. You know, but I would always have one of these on hand anyways and pre-test the battery, see what kind of voltage is in there. If you drop like 0.1 of a volt, you got lots of playtime there. You're going to still have lots of milliamps in there. Because as LiPos get older and they get used, they start to act a little bit like Nimpax in a way, you know, where they start to lose quicker on the voltage instead of holding that voltage a much longer time. But that's only after they start getting used a lot, right? And if they are starting to build a memory, well, then you're going to have to do something. Now, with 2-cell batteries and above, I would definitely recommend using a high-end charger all the time, okay? Don't throw out that ready-to-run charger, but go get yourself a good high-end charger, and because you're going to have a removable battery, pull it out of your machine, pop it onto the charger, and do the drain cycle, okay? Now, certain batteries, especially a lot of the cheap batteries, those ones you're going to have to totally drain them all the way, all the time, down to 3 volts per cell for LiPos, and then you recharge them. Now, anytime you recharge a LiPo battery, a Ni Cad battery, or a nickel methyl hydrate battery, I don't have a clue about Lifey, so please do not ask me. I have no experience with them yet. Anyways, the ones I do, all right, when you use them, drain them all the way down, lipos to 3 volts per cell, flatline your NIM packs, flatline your Ni Cads to 1 volt, okay, and then recharge them. Any of these batteries, period, on the recharge cycle, okay, and like I said with lipos, one more time, discharge them to 3 volts per cell on lipos, okay? Now, get into the recharge cycle. Whether it's a lithium-ion battery, a lipo, a NIM pack, or a Ni Cad, okay, nickel cadmium, only recharge at half the capacity of the battery, okay? So if it's a 500, do it at 250. It's going to take a lot longer, but you're going to get a better charge cycle out of it, okay? Battery's going to last you for dozens and dozens and dozens of more uses than as if you were to do it all at the same time. See, a lot of these chargers that come with your ready-to-runs, okay, in the case of my V212, its charger puts out 500 milliamps at 4.2 volts. When this battery is charged, it should only be 4.2, even though it is going slightly higher, okay? And that's fine, doesn't hurt anything, hasn't hurt anything yet. But am I getting the full milliamps? In my experience, I'm not really getting a whole 500 milliamps. Although I am going to pull a test after the next drain cycle, and I'm then going to recharge that 1-cell battery on my good charger and see what kind of milliamps actually goes in, okay, to that battery. Because then I'll get a better idea what's happening with that battery too, right? Because you can actually see stuff on those where you can't on a straight wall plug charger, okay? You get to actually see numbers. But anyways, only to half the capacity. Why is that? Because then at least you're about 99.9% guaranteed that all the milliamps that are supposed to be going into that battery get in there. My experience has been, and I've been doing a lot of testing with a lot of different kinds of batteries, lipos, NIMs, Ni Cads, everything, okay? Whenever I've been charging them at the rated capacity, I don't get all my milliamps into that battery. It's charging it too fast, okay? This is a problem, okay? Too much power, too fast, battery's heating up, battery cannot jam the milliamps into a hot battery. You need to charge at a lower amperage rate so that everything goes in better, okay? So that's very important. So, sorry about that, it was just my phone. Actually, I should just turn that right off. Anyways, so charging at half the capacity, it's going to work better. Now, at charging at half the capacity, if you don't get full milliamps put back in, it may be just because your battery is starting to get weak, which they will. Lithium ions, lipos, NIMs, nickel, the Ni Cads, they'll all get weak after usage over time. So they're not always going to put exactly the same amount in. Now, I've also come across batteries too, especially lipos, and the odd NIM pack and Ni Cad that will actually charge up to a higher capacity than what they're rated for. It's like, wow, that's kind of sweet. Because some companies actually overrate their batteries, some of them underrate them. It kind of varies, you know, on brands and stuff. But hey, even the ones that took on more juice, I've got a 3-cell battery at 2200 milliamps. I can jam 26 into it, and it doesn't hurt it one bit, and my cells are balancing out. You know, so hey, that's an underrated battery. That means more playtime. Yeah. Okay, I'm happy. So it's actually either mislabeled or underrated. Who knows? Either way, it could fit more, and that was all it could fit. And then it would shut my charger down and say, I'm done. And I'm like, cool, I'm happier. Got more than what I paid for. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Just depends, right? Anyways, doesn't always happen that way. Now, heat kills batteries, okay? So you got to also make sure that the batteries you're using will work with your machine, okay? Voltage is one thing. Playtime is another thing. Discharge rate is a whole other ball of wax, okay? Now, one thing I was told by Traxxas and a couple hobby shops with my Summit was to slam in the highest discharge rate and the highest milliamp batteries I could possibly afford, okay? It's going to be better for the machine because I'm going to get better run time, which is good. Packs should run cooler because of the higher discharge rates. In fact, they will run cooler. So anyways, I had a pair of 7600 milliamp Gens Ace batteries that work wonderful in the Summit, and they had I believe they were about a 25C discharge. I can't remember what the backbone was for the burst. Um, but one day I was out with it, and I was out with my buddy, my puppers, near his place, and we were out in this big gravel pit, and I've got video of it, and there was a lot of video you didn't see, and that was when I was really super slamming the throttle, like just non-stop. And I mean, this is something you just don't do, but I thought, you know what, I want to have fun, and if I blow it up, I don't care. It means I just have to fix something, right? So anyways, when I was done, it took better than an hour for those batteries to cool off. They were a little warm, okay, because I was over draining them. I should actually be running 50C continuous with probably 100C burst batteries in my Summit, okay, and it's got a brushed motor. It's stock, okay. That's what I probably should be running, but I can't afford those particular setups for batteries. So what I've learned is that I don't beat the crap out of it so much on the throttle, and my battery's going to run a lot cooler. So the batteries I'm running in it right now are actually physical size is about a third of those 7600s, and they're just, you know, a couple thousand milliamps short. They're like 52s or 5500 milliamp batteries. And they got an okay discharge rate to them, you know, so they're doing okay. And I've done a little bit of slamming on them, and they're not bad. No puffiness yet, no problems with them. They're doing good. But I still want to get a pair of 7600 Gens Ace again because I love those batteries. They were really heavy, they were big, they were a lot of amperage to them, you know. I could run for a long time bashing like crazy, and then crawling. I could crawl from almost all day on on the two packs. It's just insane when I go into the low gear. So anyways, Ni Cads and Impacts. Ni Cads, we already know they hold memory, right? There's literature to say they hold memory. Impacts are not supposed to hold a memory. They do. These are definitely not supposed to hold a memory, and they do. Okay? I don't care if it's a 1 cell, a 2 cell, or a 50 cell. Lipos hold memory. It just takes a little bit longer to build up, but it does happen. And if you don't believe me, I don't care. You can believe whatever you want. I've proven it before many times, and I've proven it with customers in front of them before too, that their battery has held a memory. And because I was able to straighten it out by just a couple of cycles, and voila, okay, that's memory holding. You've got to clear the memory out of the battery in order for it to charge to regular capacity again to get you back to normal playtime. Okay, now it doesn't always work. That's the thing. If the battery is over corrupted, there's no fixing that except a new battery. And part of that too could be maybe you did follow all the proper steps and procedures, do your complete drain cycle either via the RC or via the good charger, and then you rebalanced every single time. Because I always rebalance when I charge. I balance charge. It takes a lot longer than a regular charge, but at least I know my cells are getting balanced right. So I always balance charge every single time. But I also drain my batteries every single time down to 3 volts per cell on my lipos, and I take my NIMs down to 1 volt per cell. And you know, since I've been doing that, I've had batteries last and last and last and last far beyond what other people are claiming. And some people will say, well, those batteries are garbage, they don't last long. Well, did you treat them right? Probably not. Okay, did you know about, you know, draining and balancing properly? Probably not. Do you even care? Probably not. Okay, that's fine. That's everybody. Everybody's different, right? And I don't care. I mean, who am I to judge? I do things differently than other people, and things work for me that don't seem to maybe work for somebody else. I don't know why. Maybe they just aren't doing it the same way. Who knows? I have no idea. I mean, you can get bum chargers too. That's the thing. I've heard the complaints about the chargers for these single cells that, you know, they're garbage, they're useless. Well, they charge the battery in under an hour. How is that useless? It does break the battery down a little quicker because you're throwing 500 back into a 500, so you're fast charging. If you throw in too much power, there are batteries, however, I will admit, there are batteries on the market that can handle an input range much higher than what the battery is rated for. And equally as much, there are many more than that cannot, okay, handle that. And Traxxas had me convinced, so did a couple of places, that the 6-cell NIM pack for the Traxxas Traxxas Summit VXL, which will be the same for your Revo VXL and brush version. All comes with the same 6-cell Traxxas pack. Had me convinced that you can use a 4 amp peak charger to fast charge those batteries and not hurt them. Oh, you can fast charge them all right, but they come out off that charger really super hot, and heat is what kills every battery type. I don't care what it is. If it's a battery and it puts out juice, heat kills batteries. Not cold, heat does. Okay? And so that's why if you don't have the right size battery for your vehicle and you do excessive throttling way too much, wonder why your LiPo puffed? That's why your LiPo doesn't have enough power to keep up with what you want it to do, the truck to do, or the car to do, or the buggy to do, whatever, or whatever it is you're doing. Okay, your boat. And boats chew a lot of amperage, trust me. Okay, I've got a Genesis sitting on the shelf that really chews the amps up, you know, and so it needs some really super high amp output batteries. Not so much the milliamp part, but the discharge rate. Milliamps is your playtime. Discharge rate is how much that battery can deliver to the ESC when it's being demanded and drawn on. Okay, if you don't have enough discharge rate capability in your batteries, bye batteries. Okay, and I know I've done it. I had a Roar approved battery that had I think it was 110 or 130 C discharge on the top end. It was just crazy, and even my Losi ate it for breakfast. I was like, wow. And I was running a Venom Atomic brushless system in it, so obviously I needed a lot higher end than that, because that battery just didn't last too long. So that kind of sucked, because Roar approved batteries are not friggin' cheap. Okay, so lesson learned. There's a reason. Anyways, so yeah, now as far as the differences here, and then we'll wrap it up here. A NIMPAC, nickel methyl hydrate, or a Ni Cad, once coming off the charger, you should let it sit regardless for at least 10 minutes before you slap it in, because they're going to be warm. Any battery will. Even if your LiPo feels cold, it's warm inside. Let it sit after it's off the charger for at least 10 minutes, then go and play with it. But NIMPACs and Ni Cads kind of suck for performance levels. They don't have a lot of discharge rate to them, so they can't put out a lot of amps at once as the system demands of it. The other thing is you go by throttle curve. You start here, and you're already like this as soon as you hit the trigger on a NIM or a Ni Cad. Okay, now that wasn't supposed to be the way they worked. They were supposed to keep a curve up and then go down, you know, slowly. They don't work that way. They go down a lot quicker than that. Okay, just coming off the charger and then putting it on the shelf, if that's how you store your batteries. LiPos, you should be storing them in a fireproof container or bag. Okay, nickel methyl hydrate Ni Cads, no big deal. Leave them on the shelf. I always have forever. But the nickel methyl hydrate batteries and Ni Cads, you throw them on the shelf. You come back a couple of days later and do a voltage check. You're gonna have to peak that battery out now before you can go play, because otherwise you don't have much play time there. They lose power fast just by even sitting there for a couple of days. Even just one day, it loses quite a bit of power. So basically you charge it and you use it the same day within a couple of hours, and then you get the most out of that thing. With LiPo batteries, why this technology rules, provides more punch, so more power. Okay, the throttle curve starts here, and then it just keeps going like this. Okay, and then eventually it'll start to drop off, and then it just goes as soon as the ESC says time to shut down so that you don't blow up. Okay, so it goes to whatever the ESC's cutoff range has been set for. Now, if you don't have an ESC with a LiPo cutoff, then you need LiPo alarms. Okay, and and you can't get these wet even though they're in this like plastic heat shrink. You cannot get these things wet or you will toast them. And if you toast this thing while plugged in, you will take out your battery. So if you're going to use these on your RC, helicopters, quadcopters, yes, fine. Land vehicles, only if you're not going near any kind of wetness or mud can you use this. Otherwise, you'll have to cover this in a balloon somehow and keep things plugged in and hope to God you can still hear it through a balloon. Okay? So that's how that's going to work. Otherwise, just get an ESC that has a lipo cutoff and solve all your headaches. So anyhow, if you guys have any questions or whatever, feel free to ask. But don't ask me anything about Lipo batteries because I have no friggin' clue anything about them other than, yeah, they exist. The word is Lipo. What they are all about, I do not know. And but when I get around to finding out more, and if I ever need to use one, then I'll definitely know. But if you want to know more about lipos, NIMs, whatever, ask your question. Make it as clear as possible so I understand what the heck you're talking about. And then I'll get you the answer that you're looking for as best as I possibly can. So anyways, until then, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next vid.